Hello everybody and welcome into the video. I am so excited today because some of you may have seen my 2023 Valley tour, but today we have a completely updated, completely refreshed, refurbished, redone Valley 2024 edition after 2,000 hours of playing this game. I'm really excited to get into it. It's a bit of a long video today, so you might want to grab a snack, grab a drink and settle in, and we're gonna look at my valley. We're starting in the Plaza, and my main inspiration for this area was Main Street USA in Disney World in Florida. I love that we got this path ages ago now, but it was the perfect one for this build. I incorporated this figment topiary, which just felt incredibly fitting, used the Mulan shadow puppet theater, and that is right next to Oswald's house, which is our movie theater complete with snacks and all. We also have a couple of the snack stands from, these were, I believe, both from the Day at Disney Star Path that we had earlier this year. This first half of the plaza is more of the commercial sort of district with Scrooge's shop and the confectionery. We can see the entrance down to the peaceful meadow. I loved these cupcakes. They're gorgeous, so I had to use them outside as well as inside. And then we also have Daisy's shop over by the seating area, which leads back towards Oswald's house on the other side. As we're moving towards the center of the plaza, this could potentially be my favorite spot in my valley. It's a nice open area with the park entrances on both sides. Excuse Maui, he's always in the way. But we have the partners statue with Walt and Mickey. I put a few fountain tiles underneath to add to the extravagance and the drama of the statue and make it seem like it was more of a fountain feature. I also had these beautiful Mickey lampposts that I love and added a couple seating areas. This is also where I have my multiplayer portal. I actually forget what this is called, but I'm not obsessed with the way the portal looks. I kind of tried to hide it in a corner, but I also think it's perfect because if people visit my valley, they come right into my favorite part of my valley, which is that area with the partner statue. But moving on, this other half of the plaza is more of like a residential district. I do have Chez Remy, which is maybe the one, well, I have another building that's also not quite, but mostly it's more residential. We have the Mike and Sully apartment building with this small seating area overlooking the plaza. I always like to have a spot kind of around here overlooking not the plaza, the peaceful meadow. I'm so silly. I think the peaceful meadow overlook there is really nice. I would love to sit there, so I always tend to have a bench there for the villagers to sit and look. But Mike and Sully's apartment has a special place in my heart. I love it. It's one of the first buildings that I decorated the interiors of as well, which I think I have up on my channel if you wanted to check that out. This is the fancy seating area to the side of Chez Remy. I would have liked to have a more casual seating area as well, but I didn't have the space in this plaza build, so maybe next time. I probably will bulldoze this before posting the video or maybe shortly after, so this is going to be where this version of my plaza will live on from now on. I do have this French bakery over here with a couple of tables, also from the Day at Disney Star Path, I believe. I would have loved if these tables didn't have the sort of Pixar ball art on the actual table. But the red and white umbrellas with the red and white awning from the French bakery was too perfect to pass up on, so I have those over to the side. And then of course we have a Remy's house and Mike and Sully's dorm university housing, and that kind of rounds out this area. I feel like it feels very town core, very pseudo suburban kind of strip mall almost, which I really like. I think it turned out so cute. I will be sad to see this build go whenever it does. And then we are going to move into the peaceful meadow. I love having a straight path from the plaza all the way down to the beach. So that's what I did here again, this time framed with the hedges from the Alice in Wonderland Labyrinth set and some trees arching overhead. I have Goofy's stall here and some produce stands opposite. I also have a couple of chests by Goofy's stall. That's pretty standard for me across all of the biomes. I like to have storage by Goofy's stall so I can access my shared storage and also drop things off when I'm foraging. And this is that view all the way down to Maui's house on the beach. You can say what you want about Maui, but I actually really like his house. I think it's gorgeous. I added some bikes here, and this Mickey and Minnie fountain is one of my favorites. They're in the art style from the newer cartoons and also Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which I think is just stunning. Some of my favorite Mickey and Minnie art, I think. This half of my meadow is our Toontown. So I have the Toontown Fire Department, fire station, also from that day at Disney Star Path, with the car that we, I think, get from the Eternity Isle fragments. Donald is across. It's a little bit of a squeeze, but I like having him in that pond. And then on the other side of the fire department is the fireworks shop that looks like it's in shambles. So I actually added a firework item there so we could set them up, and it seems like it fits there. I have a tiny picnic blanket set up next to Goofy's house in the pond. Here we move into the strip or corner of Toontown houses. We have Goofy, we have Mickey, a shared yard, kind of for all of them, but it's between Mickey and Minnie's house, then Minnie's house and Daisy's. And this shared yard, I think, is where they would all gather to spend evenings or afternoons together. Lots of flowers and a flower bed. I imagine this is where Minnie goes to make flower arrangements and grow pretty things for her neighbors. We have a nice barbecue and a picnic table, and I do have Figaro's house, although I don't think he's hanging out in there right now. Mickey and Minnie, I think, are so cute. I love having their houses together. You also may have noticed I put the Scramble Coin figures for all of these characters outside of their house. Kind of, I pictured this sort of like a mailbox would say who lives in the home. Having the statuette is an indicator of who lives there, if you couldn't already tell by the aesthetics of the house. And then just by this pond here, a small area to sit and read, maybe go fishing. Right by Donald's house. I think that would probably get a lot of use. The other half of my meadow is more of our cottagey town area, with the entrance building here being the provincial library from, I believe it's from the Belle signature bundle in the premium shop. You can actually see Belle over there fishing. I love Belle's fishing animation. But outside, I put a table with a bunch of haphazardly stacked books, like it's a used bookstore or a little community library. And moving over to this side, we have Gaston's house with his archery set and a small little picnic table also overlooking the water. That would be such a gorgeous place to sit and eat, I think. Anytime I see something with a water view or just a overlook in general, I wish I were there. So I always try to put places for people to sit because I know if I lived in the valley, that would be my spot. Moving on, we have the Snuggly Duckling Tavern with a super casual rustic seating area outside of it. I love these barrel tables and the floating lanterns. Those were from the Lovely Monsters Star Path that we had in February. One of my favorite items, actually. I hope they bring those back to the premium shop soon. I don't believe they've been back yet. This is also where I have the well for the meadow, right by the water, right by the library, and right in front of the flowery summer cottage, or summery flower cottage. I always forget which way that goes, but this gorgeous cottage that we got with the gold edition of the game when the game went into full release. This center of the meadow is more of like a typical square. We have a tiny little farmer's market set up next to this purple cottage and Belle's cottage, which will, I'm 95% sure, be moving to the bind after we get Storybook Vale next week. This week when I'm posting it, maybe last week when I'm posting this video. We'll see when it gets uploaded, but I do think that will find a new home. I do have a painting table behind the purple cottage. I like having a crafting station in each biome outside if I can. I do have them in many of the houses, so there's never one far away, but it makes it really easy to do questing to have places to cook and places to craft kind of scattered throughout. Nothing too intense with the decorating outside of these cottages. I wanted the place to feel really cozy and like a quaint neighborhood. I didn't want to do anything too extravagant. I did like the sitting area by the rustic tower, the rustic clock tower. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful item in the game. And then this is a leafy cottage, a little hobbit house situation with some trellises, just making sure I had access to the mining node. And that brings us around again to the provincial library. Next, I believe we're going to run our way over to the Glade. I would like to say here that most of the decorating that I do, the majority of the decorating that I do, I actually do on stream here on YouTube. So if you ever want to see us in progress of building, give any input about what we're going to be doing, I feel we'll be bulldozing the valley soon and starting afresh. We'll definitely be decorating the entirety of Storybook Vale. So come stop by a stream and hang out. We have a really good time together. This is the Glade. So this is our mostly Tiana-fied Glade after we got that update with Tiana's Palace and a train station situation set up right here in the entrance. I love these parks entry items. These are from the premium shop. It's not a building or anything. It's just a furniture item, but it's an archway that you can walk through. And it was so nice to use for these train stations. I set them up with some flowers, some clocks, the little Wally bots that feel like you'd put your ticket in, and some vending machines, and we were good to go. I didn't have all of these areas connected by pathing because in my mind, in this space, you would mostly travel via the trains, so the train tracks kind of bring you from spot to spot. This here is a side patio from Tiana's Palace. You can actually access that through the main square. I just went around the other way. And then of course we have Mother Gothel's tree, which we're not able to move. I actually like the tree, except when I'm decorating, it gets in the way quite a lot. I didn't do too much with this build for Mother Gothel. I gave her a painting table and easel. I can't remember if I was trying to be petty and remind her of Rapunzel, or maybe I was thinking that she would use it to pick up painting to try to find a way to connect with Rapunzel potentially. Either one of those are possibilities. I don't remember what mind state I was in at the time, but I also gave her a little flower bed / flower garden. Like maybe she's trying to grow something that can be as magical as that fateful flower that no longer exists. But we get to the end of this set of the train tracks, or this end of the train tracks, which loops around this pond. We have that streetcar or train item set up. And this is our pillar garden memorial area. I love having all of my pillars together in any build that I do. We have this sort of platform off from the trains with some seating, and the pillars are set up. I used the little floor tiles that we can craft from wrought iron. In my mind, these would have descriptions of where the pillars came from, what the orbs mean, and maybe a little bit about the community and how the community kind of exemplifies those virtues. I really like the way that turned out, actually. And then we're moving to the Haunted Mansion, a fairly simple build, but I feel like it came across quite elegant. I imagine this would be some sort of historical house. I put another of those plaques on the floor in front of it, might say the name of the house, and in front of the benches. You know when you go to places and people donate and they dedicate the benches to them, and it's like, this is in memory of so-and-so, or this is on behalf of so-and-so. That's sort of what I was figuring. And then Lady Tremaine's manor in the back, I imagined would be the groundskeeper's house who cares for the Haunted Mansion, and maybe they live there and they also run this historical house, and that way they're just a quick walk away from work. This beautiful gazebo from the Dapper Delight Star Path, I am obsessed with. I think I used it twice here. I wish I could have used it more time. But I also have Lady's House set up right across the bridge from Mother Gothel's gorgeous building. The colors worked really well here with the purples and greens. I'm really happy with how the Glade turned out in general. It's another build I'm going to be really sad to see go, I think. But I'm excited to see what else we could possibly come up with for it. We just had a small picnic table and a seating area near the manor there. Here, right next to Lady's house, we have the well. I felt like her house felt appropriately fancy for the aesthetics of the well, although I am hoping we get skins for the wells at some point. I'd like something a little bit more rustic. I'd like something also a little bit more whimsical. Both of those sound like nice options. This is the alternate end of the loop for the train. So the one terminal end is the pillars. This other one is here. Again, another gazebo, beautiful and gorgeous. And this one kind of leads the way between that train station and the Atlantean Ruins waterfall. I love Atlantis. I'm so happy with all of the Atlantis representation in the game, and I liked putting these ruins here to extend that vibe out from the waterfall. I also put my time bending table and ancient vacuum there. I have tables in quite a few of the biomes, and I have a vacuum in every one so I can pick things up easily, and putting that with the ancient vibe just felt perfect. This is a sort of pit stop along the track with Goofy stall, my storage, and Tiana's meal stall. And this is right across the way from the tiniest little neighborhood you ever saw. It only has 2 buildings. This is where Tiana and I are best friends together, living next door as forever friends. And I went with the purple color of our player house because her house was green, mine was purple. Those are the main colors of the Glade, and it just went perfectly together. And I threw that tangled lounge pillow blanket set there so either or both of us can sit and read by the water and enjoy the sweet sounds of the Glade. I don't actually know what the Glade would sound like. Maybe lots of like crickets or something. Maybe some birds. Maybe not the best sounds in the valley, but I'd still enjoy it. Next, moving on to the beach, we have Moana's house. In the back, I just gave her a small, I believe, fire pit and a place to cook. I did put the Hey Hey companion house outside for her with Hey Hey and Pua so they can wander around her home. I like this little setup for her house. I used to have Stitch's house here. Now it's over on Eternity Isle. I do have a complete tour of Eternity Isle up on my channel. I'll link it here if you haven't seen it. It's changed a little bit since then, but for the most part, the vibes are still the same. My favorite part of Moana's house, by the way, I think is the fire bowl surrounded by the rocks. I thought that came out really nicely. I have a small setup here for her boat where maybe she pulls it ashore and sells her fish, a tiny umbrella to keep her in the shade, and a chest for me to drop off the fish when I pick them up from Moana. Then across the bridge, we're moving over to the beach area. I have a fantasy mermaidian crafting setup for me, again, so easy access to a crafting station. And that is right behind our lounge area on the beach, I guess if you wanted to call it that, with towels, chairs, picnic blankets, the lifeguard chair. And I have Eric's house in the back and the seaside villa forming a little bit of a square, and I think that looks really nice. And Ariel right across from Eric, so they can be super close to each other, never far apart, and they can gaze upon each other's homes as much as they want. I do feel like they always just stand and look at each other's homes. It's very interesting. On this island over by Skull Rock, which I can't wait to open in the summer, I have the Fountain of Youth. That's from the premium shop. Again, I'm never gonna miss an opportunity to use some Atlantean ruins, so I added plenty of those. Made this feel very lush, overgrown. Added the little scallywags dinghy, I believe it's called. And that was from, that might have been from the Haunted Holiday Star Path about a year or so ago. But it fit the vibe, so I used it. Next, we have this Hawaiian house from the Stitch Signature Bundle. Beautiful, gorgeous house. Definitely reminds me of Hawaii. And I added the shave ice little bicycle situation next to it, some popsicles, an outdoor seating area. This reminds me of places that I used to go when I was younger, when my grandparents lived on an island, and they have these super casual, almost shabby, but in a good, warm way, burger joints. Oh my goodness. It also reminds me a lot of the North Shore in Oahu, and that's just, oh, it makes my heart so happy. We also have a tiny, well, this actually isn't that tiny. This is a pretty sizable farmer's market on the beach. We have an ice cream cart. We have plenty of fruit and veg, that truck with all of the vegetables, and Goofy stall there again with some storage. And by this mysterious cave, perfect place for the time bending table and the well and the vacuum. Some picnic tables for people to sit and eat whatever they get from the farmer's market. I can definitely imagine myself getting some banana lumpia, sitting at the table, enjoying right by the beach. And then we have the beach house. I think it's just called the beach house that I set the canoe shack sign up in front of. Felt right. Added some surfboards. And that rounds up our beach. We're gonna go on to the forest next and go through the plaza to get there. The forest in some ways is a little similar to my last forest build. I love having my castles up here, but I changed them around a bit. So this first courtyard area has the Corona Castle and Belle and Beast Castle. I used the Corona fountain from Tangled there and the Beauty and the Beast picnic blanket set up. This is all very blue and purple and pink. This tile, opal and gem, tile pathing or something. It was perfect here. It added so much, I think, to the vibe, and I'm so happy that I went with it. I think I also decorated this really shortly after we got the Mulan update with the pink trees. I went all out with adding those all over the forest, and I think it turned out really nicely. To the side of this Corona Castle, we have a garden sort of situation with a couple of fountains. The back is a bit overgrown with some beautiful florals. And then tucked away even more is a fancy private dining spot for them. Then through these archways over here, since it is the castle from Tangled, this is a painting lesson area that I imagine Rapunzel would use to teach people how to paint, or maybe even not just teaching, but maybe therapeutic painting. I could see that. I added the Rapunzel and Flynn scramble coin pieces, and Anna and Elsa. I might have added those because I think canonically they know each other, but they definitely know each other in the valley, so I think it works. Then I put the flower stall from Beauty and the Beast from Beast Quest line with a dining thing in front of the stained glass, and I think it looks so cozy and gorgeous. And then further along we have a secondary castle courtyard with the palace house skin and the pink castle house skin. The palace has Cinderella's carriage outside, and tucked behind we have Rapunzel's house. I think this came out really cute. It makes sense, and actually you can see it really well from the beach. You can see the window where she would be letting down her hair, and I thought that was really fun. I used the Curious Labyrinth arch here for the backyard bit of the Beauty and the Beast castle, Belle and Beast home, with another overgrown garden, used some of the Alice in Wonderland pieces, and have where you can actually access the flower stall, which is really nice. I had a lot of fun with the Cinderella benches here. They're so elegant. I love the sparkles that come off of them. I used a lot of golds and yellows, which was also something that I enjoyed. I think it goes pretty well. I did put the elegant clock in the back to, again, call to mind Cinderella and, the clock striking midnight, all of that iconic Disney stuff. And then we have a nice area for the well with some seating, lots of gold ornamentation. It's all very luxe, all very ostentatious, a little gauche, but I think it works, I guess. And a lion, why not? A giant lion statue. And then we're going to go over to the last part of the forest. It's better when you get there from this way, although you can access it from the other side. And this is another area that I decorated after we got the Mulan update. So we had so many buildings that I felt looked really good here. This Turning Red house is one of them, with those statues that came from the Wonder of Pixar Star Path, I believe. Love them. That's in a little backyard area. And then we have this courtyard with Mulan's house and that Turning Red house. The red and the pink, oh my goodness, I love it so much. And right across we have Mulan's tea stand, and just a bit away we have Goofy's stall here for the biome. I do actually have my chests by Mulans because they just fit better there, but that's where that storage is again. I really love this tiny little square. I think it turned out beautifully, and they have a shared yard that has a beautiful tea dining setup and a crafting station. Ease of use for me, but I think it also worked here. And these beautiful arches. How could I forget about the arches? I will say I wish they were more of a brownish wood tone. The red wood makes it a little bit harder for me to use it with the way that I tend to decorate, but they're beautiful, so I had to use them. And then over here we have a couple of other buildings that I think look gorgeous together with a shared courtyard, a zen garden, plenty of the floating lanterns, foliage, flowers, and the kites as well. Actually, I haven't checked if the kites have changed. I believe they only go in one direction. At least they did when I was decorating this. Here we have Elsa's cave. Nothing dramatic, but I wanted to make sure I put a couple items there for her, and obviously the snow clouds. And this is that guardian statue that we got from Mushu with some seating. I think it kind of filled in that little transition spot there. Now we're moving into the Frosted Heights. We have a snow hut and a place to cook a little fire. We have the Frosty Fortress, which is such a beautiful house in some ways, but also incredibly frustrating because you have to be so far away to actually see any of the detail of the house. Otherwise, it just looks like a cliff face. But I added some barrels, some crates, and a little hot bath, heated bath, spa out the side of it. I also have Kristoff's sled here right by his stall. Some more barrels, some lanterns. This area also has the ice rink from the Royal Winter Star Path, so I have some seating, and the princess skate rack, which is so cute there. So you could rent some princess skates, sit, and then go skating. We have Goofy's stall. I also had a little hot chocolate stall there with a tiny table for you to sit and enjoy a nice mug of hot cocoa. And then there's an L bench over to the left actually as well. These lampposts, also from the Royal Winter Star Path, I believe, are gorgeous. The wrought iron, beautiful. Here we have Anna and Kristoff's house. I used these tile pieces from the Rift in Time expansion pack, and I had a good time using them. They're a bit difficult to use. One part of it, I think it's the blue part, you can't overlap anything on top of, but you can overlap things over the gray part, which was an interesting thing to try to figure out. This in back is an enchanted Snowgy crafting station for Elsa, where she can build little snow people and bring them to life. Here is my time bending table and my vacuum right by this mysterious Atlantean, in my opinion, cave. I also used the Anna ice sculpture here, which works well. These faces were also from the Royal Winter Star Path. I used the frozen fountain and a little snow castle. Here I have the, I guess you would call these columns or pillars from the Frozen collection that represent the elements. We have air, earth, fire, and water, and I added lighting behind / next to them with colors to suit the different elements. So when it's nighttime, you can see them light up with their corresponding elemental colors. Well, I did what I could do with the colors of the lights that we had. I tried my best. And I put the leadership shard podium there as well, I think. We have our well and the tiniest, squishiest little candy neighborhood with Vanellope's house and the sweet house, some candy cane trees, some cherry trees, some lollipops, little donut chairs. I can't wait to move these. I really feel like we need a candy biome. I don't even really want one, but I feel like I need one just so I have a place where Vanellope's actually makes sense and I can stop just trying to fit it places. I know we're getting the floating islands, but I want to actually decorate the floating islands or leave them for dream snaps. So I don't want to just banish Vanellope for the sake of banishing her. We do have this winter palace here with some ice pillars and this fire flaming fountain with some seating over to the side and a frozen fountain. And that's our Frosted Heights. I think it came out pretty nicely. I will say the more time that passes, the less happy I am with the Frosted Heights. So that's probably the biome that I'm most ready to get rid of. Next, we're going to move to the Sunlit Plateau. The Sunlit Plateau is the last one that I updated because we just got this Animal Kingdom Lodge, and oh my goodness, it is stunning, both just as a house, but also in the Sunlit Plateau. And I think it looks perfect here right at the entrance. I'm so satisfied with the way it came out. I also have a little companion house with the little lion, cub, fox companion. And that is right next to where we have Pride Rock kind of set back. This is one of the entryways. We have the beautiful Nala waterfalls in the background. I wanted this area to feel really lush. So I did add quite a few trees, quite a few bushes. I think this might be the only area that I used foliage from Eternity Isle. Some of these trees are from the Glittering Dunes, and I think it worked really well. Another overlook area with a couch and a, what are those called? Hammocks? A hammock? I have some bird feeders and some different fruit trees and bushes, lots of the Sunlit Plateau grass, ferns, also the beach grass, though we have a little watering hole area here. That might actually be called the Oasis item, if I'm not mistaken. And this is where I have the well, right behind that lodge. I like the little waterfalls that we have in the background and the water features that I believe we got from Pumbaa's Friendship Quest line over by that well. The other side of the river for the Sunlit Plateau I have as a farm-ish area. I have Al's Toy Barn. We have a lot of Toy Story stuff around here. We have the photo booth, we have the sculpture, we have the Pixar ball, and this is where I stuck Woody's house. I was so happy that it worked here because Woody's house I always struggle to find a place for. Coming around this way, we have a small picnic setup, an outhouse, and then we get to the actual pumpkin patch. So we have some autumnal sort of vibe stuff going on, some food that you might pick up at a pumpkin patch. My idea for this area was that this is a functioning farm, but it's also like a family site where people can go, they can learn a little bit about farming. It's got the toy kind of theme going on. So this is my functional farming. This is also Wally's garden here. I did make it all pumpkins. If you weren't aware, you can do that by each day going to the garden and picking everything that's not a pumpkin. And then over time, more and more pumpkins will randomize and eventually you'll have all pumpkins. I have a theater outside. This is again in, I guess, service to the fact that I wanted this to feel like a family space where people could bring their kids. Like there's a little show that they put on outside of the farm, and that's where that would be. Over here we have Goofy's stall with some biome specific foods set up. We have a small lounge area here with the hammocks, some popsicles and a watering hole. And here just a small section with an L bench, some crates, some barrels, a little bike, and a nice place to sit by the water and relax. Right by the other, and I think the true, if I'm not mistaken, entrance to Pride Rock, lined with some beautiful foliage and fruit. The last area of the Sunlit Plateau is for Scar in this desolate, dried up space. He's got a lounge rock, he's got a watering hole, he's got a tiny little tree, some scraggly bushes, and the Watchful Hyena Cave, I believe that's called. That's actually a Scrooge shop item. I was so surprised that wasn't in the premium shop because I could have sworn that would be something that they put in the premium shop, but it's so good and it works perfectly there. Lastly, we have the Forgotten Lands, and this is Goofy's stall right here. I have it set up like maybe it's a warning you might not want to continue to the rest of the Forgotten Lands, but it's actually not as scary as it might seem. We have a cute, cozy, witchy neighborhood set up right here. We got all three of these homes in the premium shop within a pretty short span of each other, and it worked out so perfectly because I had a pumpkin patch here, but I was able to replace it pretty easily with these things. I love specifically the witchy cottage that has the witch hat as the roof, but the cozy Halloween one is also super cute. So I played into those Halloween and fall time vibes with a tiny tiny condensed pumpkin patch and just some cozy cottagey decor. We have our well set up for the Forgotten Lands. I have it surrounded by green and purple light, so it looks really nice at night. And then right across the way, we have the Before Christmas edition of the Haunted Mansion, all decked out with spooky, festive decor. We have Jack's tree, how we find him, and also the tiny little cute, almost like barren Christmas tree next to that house, although we do have a larger, fancier one right here in a fence surrounded by an assortment of festive and also scary sort of items. Here we have the Nightmare Castle, and I also had the Tower of Terror right there. The Nightmare Castle is near our Nightmare Before Christmas-ish area. I have that hill with the Zero companion house and the Zero fox there. We have Jack's house set back behind the Nightmare Castle, kind of like it's a little garage add-on sort of vibe. Not a garage, well, garages don't have to be for cars, I suppose. Sort of just an additional, less fancy space, I suppose. And the tiniest of little cemeteries or graveyards off to the side. Then strolling back around to the Nightmare Castle, we do have a pretty fancy enchanted yard or garden area off to the side with blueberries and apples. The blueberries I was imagining could be like nightshade or something. Really, I just ran out of places to put them, so I had to find a story that worked for putting them in the Forgotten Lands. And we also have the tree house here that we can't move, but it's fine. It works in this build, but one day I hope we can move it. The apples fit perfectly with the spooky vibe though, because we all know the poison apple, classic Snow White lore. So I set up a cauldron back here with a couple of the wells of souls, lots of apples, as though this is where some poison apples are being cooked up. I also have a small area here with the Nightmare Before Christmas fountain that's beautiful and another archway. This section I actually really like. I find it somewhat cozy, even though I wanted it to be a little bit creepy, but mostly I just think it's mysterious and I really enjoy it. That wraps up our tour of the valley. I am going to show some overhead bird's eye views of all of the biomes in case that's something that you want to see. And you can also see here how many items I have placed. I am playing on PC, although I do play on Switch as well. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you had a good time, please remember to like, subscribe for more Disney Dreamlight Valley content. There's going to be so much of it coming up with the Storybook Vale expansion pass coming out, the first part of it anyway, and the So Delightful update with immense improvements to decorating mode and the floating islands. I can't wait. We're going to be doing so much decorating. I want to say a huge thank you to all of my channel members. Honestly, I appreciate each and every one of you so much. You are the ones who enable me to continue doing YouTube and making videos and streaming, and that honestly means the world to me, so I cannot thank you enough. And to Ezra, Kitty, and Prib, our Gilded Lily tier channel members, the additional level of support that you provide for me really is too much. I honestly can't even think of words for how much I appreciate it. So thank you for being part of the community. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you all really soon.